You suggested Moses about conviction. Yeah, obviously you
No,
don't
I
remember.
think
So
that I do remember that, but I feel like that's
right. So question number 4. Can you read it again?
So again, are we trying too hard to make Jesus cool to culture? What do you guys think about that?
I think, yeah. I mean, no, you answer first since you.
I thought we don't. All right.
I mean, no, Lamine answer
go
first
ahead,
since you the guest. You know what I'm saying?
You think we're trying too hard to make Jesus cool?
I want to say yes and no. I sometimes feel like sometimes churches look to society to move the needle when it comes to what we're preaching, what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. For example, like when the pandemic first started, people were talking about everything but
the pandemic.
About
racism.
Yeah, about not like the pandemic time. Everybody talk about faith and staying firm in your walk. People were scared about a corona initially,
right.
But I started talking about relationships, and I'm like, this is not what the people need to hear. Like, people want to talk about love, but
what
it's
they
like
want versus what they need.
Yeah, like we need to talk about because people are really scared about the pandemic, and there's like people are moving with fear, but I feel like church were oblivious to talking about like just trusting in God and just knowing that you will come overcome this, and also like we can't gather. Please be steadfast in your walk individually. I feel like they avoided that topic for a while until like people started dwindling from the church. Yeah. But then I do feel like for example, like Mike Todd, like how he was preaching in the water. Even though I wouldn't do that personally, I respect it because some people actually do need. Some people do find traditional teaching of like African churches to be like very monolithic and boring, and they need like theatric, and that's okay. Yeah. So that's okay to do demonstrations during your teaching. So I'm on the fence. Like I'm not one to do it, but I see how it's helped. Yeah. For example, like my brothers, we all grew up in White Garment, and then I went to Destiny Harvest, but I eventually left to go to Glory Center. But my brothers, they go to Destiny Church now, and they love it. They like the demonstration, all that stuff, because it captures their attention, Yeah. As opposed to me, I'm really like traditional. Like, I literally listen to like old white men, like old pastors, like John Piper, Robert Morris, like.
Theological.
Robert Morris is lit though, but
Leonard Ravenhill. I just old theologians, and I can actually focus better with stuff like that, as opposed to demonstrations. It kind of, I have a very short attention span, so for me, it's very distracting. But I respect it because it's reaching a body that needs part of the body that needs to be reached. So I don't think I think we are making him cool, but I respect it because it's like it's reaching a demographic that needs to be reached. That if we don't cater to them, can get lost. And we're trying to be all things to men to reach them. So for me, I'm just like, I'm with it.
I think it's just a problem when we exaggerate things. Okay. Like I said, I thought the Mike Talk thing was cool until it was like raining. Then I was like, I think him being in the water was like dope. Like I was like, oh, that's tough. Like kick around your water or whatever. But like when it started raining, I was like, this is or just things like things they talk about or whatever. When you try to exaggerate the Jesus experience, so you start adding details to your story or your testimony that weren't really what happened, but it's like now you're trying to add to Jesus. And I think some people would say like, I think this new like digital age, just doing more on social media, I think that's fine because this is where we're at. That's the type of evangelism when you promote and have good graphics and stuff like that and video and all that stuff. Like, I think it's cool to do that because it's a form of evangelism and it's putting effort into it. I just think at some points we exaggerate.
I think it is, I don't even think it's necessarily we're trying to make Jesus cool. But I think that it is, because in a sense, not even in a sense, Jesus is already relevant no matter where you take him and put him, right?
Yeah.
So it's not even a matter of we need to make him look cool because that's not it. I don't even think that's what
people just want to look cool,
that's not how I look at this question, because I think that if Jesus is preached no matter where we're at, I think it'll be relevant to whoever needs to hear it. I think his stories are relevant. I think whatever he did was relevant. I think that he doesn't need to change himself to look appealing to our culture. In a sense, he is himself his own culture. Right. So I think where this thing comes into play is where we, as the people, like Sam said, try to appeal more to culture to get people like their eyes on them. Right. Yeah. And it's not necessarily let's preach this and whoever holds to it is who holds to it, and we'll continue to preach it, and whoever grasp it. But it's a matter of how can we get as many people as we can to hear this and keep them here. And the funny thing about it, I was listening to this amazing podcast called The Pastor's Pod by Jesus Culture, their podcast network. So real quick, they had somebody on this recent episode, and he said Jesus never gave people options. He basically said, like, to the man he told to go sell his things, he was like, yeah, go home and sell your things, da da da. The man walked away. Jesus was not, he was never like, yo, come back. This is what I actually meant. I meant, go sell this so that when this happens, I have your heart and you know that you're not. No, he just said, go sell this, go sell your stuff. Right. And that's it. He not saying, all right, never mind. He's saying, do this. If you don't want to do it, oh well. And I think that sometimes when we want to be so cool and so attractive to the culture, we do that second option, like, oh no, what I meant was this, like, come back here, you see this, look at that. Which, like Alami said, is not bad. It's not bad to have an illustration that, is something that, because I'm a visual learner, right? Yeah. I could sit here and look at whatever it is visually, and it hits a lot differently. There's nothing, like Gabe said, there's nothing wrong with illustrations, but I think it's when we try to, make it so appealing that we go out of the way and we even get away from Jesus himself to attract, instead of bringing people into our culture, we're going into their culture and trying to do that. So that's all I got to say on that.
Well, I was just going to say, I feel like my issue that I have nowadays is like, it's kind of like almost the same thing Moses said. It's like churches being cool and then they give you a watered down Jesus. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, why do we try so hard to be cool just for people to encounter a Jesus that may not necessarily be the true Jesus? You know what I'm saying? And I just feel like, I don't know, I always try to put myself in situations where I ask myself, like, if Jesus was here now walking the earth, like, would he be about what we're about? You know what I'm saying? As far as like the optics and the aesthetics, like, does he care about haze and lights and, you know what I'm saying, projectors or screens? You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, and a lot of churches do it, you know what I'm saying? So I'm not coming for any particular church. Right. A lot of churches do it, and it's just like, again, I know it's just like trying to appeal to certain people, and I get that. But at the same time, I just feel like there just always needs to be a balance. Like, I feel like if people are raving about a church because of how it looks aesthetically more than like the word itself, then
their
I
lives
feel like
being transformed.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I feel like that should be a red flag.
No pun.
You know what I'm saying? But again, it's just like, people, like, I even seen people, like, they be posting, like, oh, like, my church just got this new, and I'm just like, yo, like, why, you know what I'm saying? Like, why is that so important? Why does it matter? Right. Why is that even worth even posting? But who am I to tell people what to post? Right. But when I seen it, I was just like, yeah, like, I felt like this is an issue. Man. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, my church just got the new, don't. And I'm just like, okay, guys, cool. Hey, you know what I'm saying? So that's always my issue, and it's just like, if we can find a way to balance both, where you can be a cool looking church, you know what I'm saying? Like, offer all the cool things, but then, like, I actually come to the church and I'm like, dang, like, you go deep in the word and stuff like that. I feel like authentically, cool. Yeah, then I feel like that's cool, but I feel like a lot of churches struggle with trying to do both, because maybe a lot of the intentionality is being cool. Or it may not even be the church being cool, but the people there being cool. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, man, church culture nowadays is just, you just got to be careful where you...
I want to say when you're trying to be cool or like cater to the wants of the people, you end up raising weak Christians that are not steadfast in their walk or even rooted in their word. And that's the point, to make disciples of all nations. So we have to be careful that we're catering to the building of the body as opposed to the aesthetics and stuff like that. And I'm not knocking it down, but at the end of the day, when fire is testing our walk individually, you want everybody to, like, this pandemic literally wiped out many churches.
Many
Christians, like, the fact that we were separated and had to worship by ourselves, or seek God by ourselves and stuff like that, it really challenged people in their walks. And it's like, thank God I've been saved for a while that I didn't, when the pandemic came, it just made me actually more hungry and, fellowship more with my friends and stuff like that. But we have to be really careful when the fire is testing the quality of Christians, that their quality, their gold, made of honor.
And I think it's, to wrap it up, I think sometimes when we try to make Jesus, quote unquote, look cool enough for culture, we start to manipulate how people see us. When we start to do things that
distort the message.
Distort the message and just manipulate people's opinions of ourselves we show them a version of ourselves that isn't really us, to get them in, to tell them about Jesus. That's a lot of hoops we got to jump through. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's something simple, is keep the main thing the main thing. The means of having the smoke, the lights, and everything like that, it's not bad. But once they become the main thing, that's when, we're trying too hard. So that's why I think you just keep the main thing, and we're good. But and that's the 4x4.
4x4.
Yay.
And It's been